Okay, let's get this started. For the most part, I'm gonna stick with the secret agent mode, the medium difficulty for the various missions. Even back when I had an actual N64 instead of an emulator, I needed some ability to auto-aim around here. Much less now that I'm using a PS4 controller in place of an N64 one. And yes, I am well aware that for this first mission the game's audio is a little out of sync. I'm not sure why the recording keeps doing that for the first mission, but none of the other missions in the game seem to have that issue, and we'll see if it's bad enough that I need to redo the whole thing. A Russian-made nerve gas. How original. Can't we have a few other countries make some nerve gas once in a while for variety's sake? Sorry, Q, but the modem objective doesn't actually show up for this mission unless we're playing on the hardest difficulty. Still, we've got the gadget for it. Shouldn't be too difficult to get that done for you, even if it's not technically one of the things we absolutely need to do here. And let's just promptly forget that poor Moneypenny is trying to flirt with us. If anything, she should be one of the people who is completely immune to Bond's charms. She's had more than enough time to learn he's a womanizer than anyone else. Oh, it's just amazing how much the opening mission's music just makes me grin. Yeah, audio is still a bit out of sync for some reason, but it's still oddly glorious. Don't worry, I'll have that fixed by the time we get to the next mission. Not too sure why they felt the need to change the name of the AK-47. It is literally the most recognizable gun in the world. Even N64 graphics can't make it look completely generic. And bloody hell. Sorry, but the sound effects not being in sync with the gameplay is starting to get distracted even to me. Let's try this again from the top. And seeing as how I'm a bit annoyed by the random little annoyance that happened due to the emulation, I think I'll kill everyone in the mission area instead of just speeding my way through like I did in the first try. There we go, the sound effects are in sync with the events going on right now. Anyway, this is one of the first games that ever tried to have enemies react to where they've been shot. For the most part it works, but there's still the odd moment of someone getting shot in the head, then grabbing their crotch in agony as they drop. As a kid, I always thought that was what people meant when they called others a dickhead. That everything that happened to their skull was somehow felt in their crotch. Ugh. Anyway, as a side note, I always grab the sniper rifle in this mission even if I never use it. I always find it funny that in the next mission, when we don't have it, or the AK-47 at the start, and yet we somehow magically have far more pistol ammo than we ended the first mission with. It's just one of those little things. Is it just me, or is it far more satisfying to kill these dumb bastards than it is to slaughter the technically more intelligent enemies in the Call of Duty series? I mean, I get why I love to see health bars again, considering just how many games have regenerating health these days, but that doesn't explain the fact that taking down just one guy in this game feels like far more of an accomplishment than killing around half a dozen in your average Call of Duty. And of course, the truck driver doesn't react at all to someone who's clearly not supposed to be here opening the doors for me. Hell, the guy is never going to leave his truck at all, or slow it down other than to avoid actually crashing through somebody. Even if they didn't want to animate opening the truck door, there should have been some way to acknowledge that someone is actually in there. Now, the objective to disable the alarms is rather ridiculous in my opinion. We just run to absolutely every alarm button in the area and shoot it until it blows up. I mean, sure, everything other than the walls and doors blows up if you shoot them enough around here, but still, you'd think that Bond would have a gadget of some kind to deal with something like that. After all, we needed a gadget for what Q wanted us to do, and we get to the, in the briefing, some text for it, and the gadget to get it done even when we're not on the difficulty that makes it absolutely necessary to do. So why don't you get a gadget to disable the alarms? I suppose we could ignore the guys patrolling the top of the buildings, just like we can ignore all the guards in the tunnel just beneath us. But since we're more than establishing at this point that this version of Bond is nothing like Sam Fisher or Solid Snake, I don't see any problem with us just killing everyone in this part of the dam before we move on. Seriously. How many kids growing up ended up with the idea that Bond was essentially a British Rambo because of this game, and world is not enough for the same damn system? If anything, I'd say that the Pierce Brosnan era of Bond movies and other media did a great job getting people comfortable with the idea of Bond becoming even more action-oriented when the next guy, Daniel Craig, showed up. Though, I suppose there's not too much point in talking about the various Bond actors when this game has no voice acting, and they at best did a decent job of giving the sprite we only see at the start of the missions Brosnan's face. Right, technically I could end it here by running off the dam, but I'm feeling a bit bloodthirsty at the moment. Sorry about that, shouldn't take too long. And may I say I miss the days when a player could decide on their own to do some extra stuff in a given mission. These days, you generally are forced to go down every hallway with every collection of enemies, while in the old days, depending on the difficulty level, you could choose to avoid having to deal with those enemies at all. And I certainly love how in the first-person shooters that Rare made for the N64, and the one or two that were inspired by Rare's work, spent so much effort into making missions that feel absolutely different depending on what difficulty you choose to run through them in. The enemies take more damage and dish out more while being more accurate. Your auto-aim doesn't work the same way it does in the other difficulties. You have more objectives to deal with. Every difficulty has its own feel, and I grew very attached to how the middle difficulty felt. Closest thing to this style of difficulty differences the old N64 first-person shooters gave us I can think of are the Halo games, and they don't quite change as many things based on the difficulty level. Never understood why the AK in this game has a 3-round burst when you aren't going for precision aiming, but it's easier to conserve your ammo when you're doing so. It's just one of those little quirks that you get used to, even if you don't have any actual explanation for it. Sort of like how I can somehow ignore the fact that the only bullet holes that form in the wall and other objects are the ones we cause, yet somehow the enemy's bullets are just as likely to blow things up as ours are. Anyway, now that we're done with the exterior of the dam, we've downright made it into a graveyard, and we've had a bit of a chuckle over the fact that grabbing the sniper rifle changes our melee animation from hand chops to swinging the back of the sniper around. It's time for us to get inside the dam now. Ah, shit, I forgot the bungee cord. Bond? Are you at some point going to attach the bungee? Okay, so he's just going to repeatedly jump from that spot so we can see the leap from multiple different camera angles. Wasn't looking to break any speed records, but it was still pretty fast and pretty fun.